Snoogans everybody, and welcome back to Mates, Movies and Malts, the podcast where we dive into the world of film and pop culture. In today's episode we are taking a deep dive into the hilarious and often insightful movies of Kevin Smith. From the indie breakout hit Clerks to the Jay and Silent Bob series, we'll explore how Smith's unique voice has shaped comedy, fandom and the very nature of storytelling in cinema. So grab your blunts and your best comic book knowledge, it's time to talk all things Kevin Smith. Before we get into the episode, this week we are joined by the very, very hilarious Mr. Al Thompson. Welcome to the podcast, Al.
Hello, good to be here.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah.
It's always something I've wanted to talk about. I was really wanting to come in and talk about Edging, the Three Musketeers. Fees have covered that in every episode.
And we will again.
It's a running theme, we like a good edge on this podcast.
Right. I must say that was by far the most professional introduction we've done.
Thank you.
Like you can tell you've properly structured that out and put some work into that, mate. I don't know if this is a professional enough platform for you now.
Well, I didn't really write it myself. I used ChatGPT.
Nice.
So,
Listen, you can't use AI.
How?
Because you can't.
How?
Because this is like I write all my own stuff, you know. So you're just destroying art by doing that.
Oh, wow.
Wow. I agree.
Whatever suits you.
I agree with the new guy.
And that is my last episode, guys. I'll be joined next week by these three guys.
So let's crack on then. Jordan, what have you got planned for us?
So we're just going to kind of talk about some Kevin Smith movies, some comedy movies in general. Before we get into that though, we're just going to kind of take a chance to get to know Al a wee bit better. We will let our fan, or the other fan, sorry, Al's the biggest fan, we'll let the other fan know a bit more about Al.
What do you mean biggest?
Well,
Biggest.
you're just height, man.
It's a multi-use word.
Okay. So for those who don't know, Al is a stand-up comedian. So Al, you want to talk a wee bit about that?
Aye.
How long have you been doing stand-up for?
About 3.5 years. I took a bit of a break when my second baby was born because she didn't sleep.
Oh.
So it was one or the other, and can't send her back. So took a because I was when she wasn't sleeping, I was rotten. Like I was just get up there, just couldn't remember anything. So I kind of took a wee break for there, but I've been properly back on it for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years now. So properly gone for it now.
Good. How's it been going for that last year? 2 years that you've been back into
it's
it?
a bit mental. There's like a comedy forum and stuff like that I'm part of. I mean, like every comedian in Scotland, near enough, is on it, getting like that's where you get gigs and stuff like that. And there's been Darren Connell, Bobby for Scott Squad.
Aye.
He gave me a gig and then he was on it the night after, telling him to book me. That's mental. And Stuart McPherson, who is also in Scott Squad, I think, as well. Stuart McPherson was on talking about how good I was and telling folk to book me and that as well. So it's just having folk like that talking about you, just kind of out of nowhere without me having to go and beg or kind of slip them 20 quid or whatever. It's went a bit mental and we were starting to get paid. Oh no, I shouldn't say that. Starting to get paid under less than 1,000 a year.
Yeah.
Less than a taxable amount.
Aye, for gigs.
Yeah.
So it's
Paid ginger balls.
But it's going really well. I'm still enjoying it, so we'll keep going until I'm no.
Good to meet you.
That's right, man.
What has it got you into it? So obviously I've known you for a wee while, but I've not known you for a long time, so I don't really know the kind of the backstory.
Lockdown.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's just like being in the house until you can't go and do anything. And that just kind of lit a fire under me, like, right, you're going to get back out in however many weeks, however many months, so I just started writing, and I think it was one of the first things I done when we could get back out, and done a gig in Hamilton, and then just kind of built up for there.
Right, okay.
I think that's the interesting thing. So like stand-up's one of those things, like all of us obviously we think we're funny in a little group of pals and whatever else, and you can fire out the occasional one-liner on WhatsApp and stuff like that, but trying to be a stand-up comedian, that's wild, man. Like it's so hard. Like, and so you were saying that you were forgetting stuff and everything like that. Like, so what are the bad gigs like that? Is that not enough to put you off?
Thanks for doing the bad stuff.
There's got to be a nice
That'll ease nice into the nice things.
I will. But the last one I had like a pretty risky joke.
Nothing's too risky for this podcast.
And it was
We don't get monetised, mate, don't worry about it.
and it was a charity gig, and I done it there, and I get spoke to after it, like, we all want to do that at a charity gig. So, I'll tell you a joke.
Yeah, go for it, man. Obviously, if we can't air it, we won't air it, but at least we'll know it.
So, I've got two lassies, and I'm always telling them, I've not done this joke in ages, and I'm always telling them, no matter what men can do, women can do just as well. But that's a lie, because there's always some men will be able to do better than women, and that's kill themselves.
Wow.
So I done that joke, and one of the old heads come up to me and is like,
I need to ask, what was the charity?
it was just it was just a dog charity, so it wasn't. It's not as if the dogs are killing themselves.
No. Just us are killing
No,
them.
nobody laughed.
No, the dogs are there.
No, there was honestly ear up in rope, man.
It is a bit of a risky joke, but it also puts a bit of a spotlight on fucking something that's quite serious as well.
It comes for all good comedy comes for truth.
Yeah,
Sometimes that's no made anything up. That's
You don't even need to fact check that. That's well known. But I think the thing is, it's quite a kind of common topic of discussion just now, isn't it? Like what can you say, what you can't, cancel culture. It's what a lot of comedians that try and go against it, your Ricky Gervaises, your Bill Burrs, guys like that, are all so determined to kind of highlight, because it is now it's the point where you can potentially lose your careers for saying the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Remember we spoke about it before with James Gunn when he gets sacked from Guardians because of ancient tweets.
1994.
Aye, and it's like and obviously everybody stood by him for a change, which was nice. But it's I think it's one of those things where it's a joke. Like, I don't think there's anything you can't joke about. And certainly, if anybody took a look at our WhatsApp group chats, we'd be getting a bit of bother. Do you know what I mean?
Folk just love to get offended by anything now, but nothing happens when you get offended. Nothing happens. There's
Exactly.
not, like, you just fucking move on. See if you don't like it, don't listen to it, don't watch it.
Exactly.
And you can joke about it. It's just the way you go about it. See if you're attacking somebody.
Aye.
It's like,
That's different.
like shut up.
Aye.
But see if you go about it the right way and you build up enough kind of trust with the audiences and stuff like that, then you can.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
I think we're now at that stage where you're almost relying on comedians to be the ones talking sense in the public consciousness, and the ones that aren't just bowing to, because everybody that's in a kind of public position are so frightened to say the wrong thing that they're now just saying stuff that they don't believe and they don't agree with. And you can see it, politicians, actors, like anytime we're taking a stand for X, Y and Z, we're raising awareness for, you give a fuck about whatever you're raising awareness for. Do you know what I mean? But I think stand-ups are the last, what's the word, the last bastion, you know?
I mean, it's like folk like Ricky Gervais telling folk in a sold-out world tour that he's been cancelled and stuff like that. And you're like, you know,
Seems a bit
really
ironic.
thinking a bit. But
Right, true.
I mean, it's people on Twitter and stuff, and I think it's a different world on Twitter and social media. Like if folks say, "Well, listen to this joke," there'll be 1,000, however many folk, depends how big you are, jumping on your back. But at the end of the day, there's 10,000 that liked it.
Exactly.
So
Find it
it's just,
One thing you mentioned, obviously somebody came and spoke to you afterwards about that. Was it done in like a, just here, FYI, maybe just on this? Is like comedy, is that like a supportive space? Is everybody really good with each other?
aye. Like the people that I've come through with, guy Dean Byrne, who's he's just, was he the finalist? They got some BBC New Comedy Awards last year.
Blood, Sweat and Fears.
Aye. Him and there's I could list off all the different names and stuff like that, but we all kind of started. I think a lot of people had the same idea, like after lockdown and stuff, or if not, then we're just getting back into it and it felt like they were starting on it again. So there is a big group of us that all kind of started at the one time, and we're all dead supportive and stuff like that. And you know, you want to see them doing well, but you don't want to see them doing better than me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's healthy competition, and it's always good.
So I feel quite a lot of these kind of representing each other on each other's podcasts and stuff. Like they were on Culture Vultures, you were on Blood, Sweat and Fear and stuff like that as well. So this man is no stranger to a podcast as well.
Yeah, I know.
Has any of the others been as slapdash as this one? Blue Peter is the pod mother referred to earlier on.
It's really well set up, but if I do look out there for a while, I'll come back. I can't see.
I think get your fat back on.
If we are communicating with the pod mother, we'll maybe just ask her to open that kitchen window, because I think the lights are playing havoc with the temperature as well.
It's a
I
bit
think
warm,
it's-
that's
I'm used to it sitting there in hoodies.
Well, this is my new Christmas hoodie that I got, and I wanted to show it off today. I've worn it to work a couple of times.
It's a belter.
Thanks.
Love it. So Jordan, I know you're kind of in control of the things. Have you got like a list of questions you want to ask Al? Or what do you think?
No, we're kind of just going to go conversational. So we've kind of spoke about why you get into it. Is there anybody in particular who inspired you to get into it?
No.
Nice stand up.
Do you want to segue for the back end?
My brother used to do it. So that was that. It just kind of said to me, you know, Andy can do it because he's pish. No, he was good.
He's on next week.
Yeah. he was good as well. So it just kind of opened my eyes up a bit. Like, you don't need to be somebody. You don't need to be like have stage training or anything like that. You can just grab a mic and go up and do it. So
As long as you get the buzz to do it.
aye,
I
that
couldn't do that, man. It's take my hat after you. It's
One of mine and Stacey's favourite things to do is to go to see comedy shows. Doesn't necessarily have to be a big name or anything like that. You'll just like go to random gigs and you won't recognise a single name. And the amount of times you just see these fantastic performances by people you never heard of, it's brilliant. There's so much good comedy, especially like all the ones I've been to are the ones that are in Glasgow.
Yeah.
But aye, such a great night. Such a great night going to see a concert.
There's loads of great folk out there.
And what if you were recommending anybody to watch any comedians that you love, is there anybody specific that you think, do you know what, I think they're absolutely the top of their game, or they're the best of all time, or anything like that?
Famous folk or
Well known, and maybe people that they maybe wouldn't
well,
know.
my favourite ever is Norm Macdonald, who died.
2023 wasn't it?
Aye, so he's my favourite of all time. Mitch Hedberg as well, who died.
Mitch Hedberg's so
Aye,
good.
he was great.
So good.
obvious comedy's hilarious, man.
And Nate Margates is probably my.
I've seen bits and pieces
He's
of
the
him,
only one. I don't watch comedy, but I just don't really into watching it.
Don't like comedy?
But I can sit through his.
I can sit through it.
High praise.
It's bearable.
But no, I watching it live and stuff like that. But that's the best thing about doing this is you get to go in, and if you're on a cracking lineup, you're getting to see the best comedians in the country for nothing. And you get to talk to them after it, and I love doing it and being on a stage and stuff. But putting it on in the house, what would they do?
When you get your right.
Fair enough.
No.
Fair play, mate. Showbiz!
You can throw it to him to introduce the whiskey.
Aye.
Cool, cheers.
So before we get cracked on with the Kevin Smith section of the episode, Pedro, I believe you have something for us today in the whiskey category.
Yes, we'll keep it short and sweet, thank you. We'll keep it.
fans. Fake ups.
We'll keep it short and sweet. I think we've identified quite quickly that we were spending too much time trying to talk about the technicalities of whiskey when even...
We were spending too much time.
I know. I was on about it all the time. I'm really sorry, guys.
Just the guys asking questions.
Well, listen, we live and die as a team.
Exactly. We are a collective.
was nobody's fault.
So I was talking quite a lot about the whiskey, and I felt let's kind of reduce this down a bit. So I'd be interested. Also, you were saying you used to drink a bit of whiskey and stuff like that, but you're not a big fan these days.
No, it was Lafroig. I used to drink when I was younger, and I used to drink some Johnny Walker and stuff like that.
Nice one.
I would always just shot it. Like, I was never like. I would see you all day. What it smells like peat.
Aye. Which is a Lafroig characteristic. Bang on.
When I drank it, I was out in like old man pubs at the age of 18 with a suit jacket and a trilby hat on, so I was a walloper. So I think I was just trying to be cool.
Aye.
Smoking cheap fags and.
You need to invest in.
Songs
Good whiskey.
A walking album cover.
And I know that you've obviously spoken with Jordan loads about the pod and stuff like that, and I think you've been reasonably complimentary about it and stuff as well, right?
No.
The segues, what do you think of the segues into whiskey? They've been pretty tenuous, aren't they?
No, I think they're as good as they can be.
I agree with that. So this week, and the segue is pretty simple. In the interest of friendship, seeing as we have a guest with us, this was a whiskey that was gifted to me just at Christmas there by a friend of mine at work that started recently. I had a wee couple of them when he'd given it in. Really nice kind of friendly whiskey, nothing like the smoky bad boy we had the last time.
A wee Edgar
So
friendly.
pour us one of these, say again.
A wee Edgar friendly.
Exactly. So I'll pour us one of these, we'll just nurse it through the episode, and if there's anything you feel you want to volunteer about the whiskey, then feel free.
Cool.
Sounds good. A wee one at the infinity bottle, which is starting to take shape, by the way.
Yeah.
Alright,
You know?
getting there.
It's always had that shit, right?
I'd say we're past the halfway point.
Maybe.
Just because the base is wider than the top.
Sometimes the joke doesn't need to be said. So, so like Kevin Smith then.
Yeah, so Kevin Smith, out of everything that's out there, all the genres, all the directors, all the writers, why Kevin Smith? What is it?
I want to say this in the nicest way possible. His movies feel as if we could do it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just like a guy with his
he is
pals.
the everyman director.
Aye, it's just a guy with his pals making films and having fun. It does look utter class. And I feel like a lot of his kind of recent ones have been a lot of kind of fan service. A lot of them, like I know you said you hadn't really seen Clerks 3 and stuff, but there's a lot of stuff in there that you would only know if you're a fan
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe even a super fan. Like, you know characters and you know where they've came from and how a joke works with that character and stuff. But
Is there a lot of, so like you said, we've not seen Clerks 3 yet. We were all under the impression it was out this year, but evidently it wasn't.
it was 3 years ago. I think.
2022.
It's been that threw me off a wee bit.
No, I
Times
was
went to.
really embarrassed.
Is there a lot
claiming
of
to be a
throwbacks
huge
to
fan.
Clerks 1 jokes? Maybe more Clerks 2? Like,
Do you want me to tell you what it's about?
did they do the whole Asty Mouth joke again?
Well, I was under the impression that it's Randall trying to make
Clerks.
make the Clerks
Aye.
movie.
right,
So
okay.
it's like it did seem a bit like a cop out. Oh, that's one of these other movies.
That was a fucking disaster.
Do you remember what that was originally going to be called? And they changed it for censorship reasons. It was originally going to be called A Couple of Dicks.
That's
Aye, it was, and I think originally it was about private investigators, and then obviously they just turned it into a Bruce Willis movie, and then the rest is history, because I think Kevin Smith and Bruce Willis absolutely hate each other, don't they?
I think Bruce Willis hated Kevin Smith.
Aye.
One of my favourite lines for that film is when Tracy Morgan's chasing a guy down and Bruce Willis has got a tattoo gun or something. He's like, if you don't stop, my partner's going to draw 2 unicorns fucking on your face. That is a good fucking line. That would get me stopped. I do not want that tattoo on my face.
No, I'd agree with that. But sorry, you were saying there?
So Clerks 3 is basically him making a film. It's basically how he made Clerks, the story behind that, and having his heart attack at the start of it. And then it does seem as if it's the same kind of movie as Zack and Miri as well.
Okay.
Love Zack and Miri.
I was hoping you would all have forgotten about Zack and Miri, because that was on my radar to talk about, because that's one of my
I
favourites.
talk about Dutch Rudders and work with their every day, man.
Hopefully not the clients.
Have you tried to get a free person Dutch Rudder on the go?
Aye. But it does, but as I say, it feels as if his last couple of films have been for the fans, and I do like that about it as well.
Aye. I think you made a brilliant point. Like, when I was kind of thinking, out of the 3 of us, these guys are both bigger kind of Kevin Smith fans than me, but of his movies. But he's the everyman in Hollywood. He's the geek that made it, and now he's actually, because he's got a fair bit of clout and stuff. It's less about the movies that he's making, more about the impact that he's having on, like, the stuff that people like us actually really love.
Yeah.
So he's now having impacts on things like Star Wars, on things like Superman and everything like that. And we mentioned him in the very first episode. Do you remember? Because we were talking about the thing that I love about him is that his whole thing is about being as positive as he possibly can. So I'm not going to slate a movie. If I didn't like it, I didn't like it, but people have worked hard on it, so I'm just going to talk about the stuff that I like.
Yeah.
I thought that's absolutely brilliant, and it's very, very different for most of the stuff that you hear.
You would have loved hearing him hyping up Phantom Menace. He was on a podcast talking about, he would basically set the challenge of trying to make Phantom Menace sound like it was better than any of the original movies. And see, by the end of it, I was convinced.
So he was originally attached to Phantom Menace to be scriptwriter and director as
That's
well.
amazing.
But it kind of fizzled out, which is why he's such he's probably a bigger defender of the Phantom Menace than you are.
Aye.
Staunch defender of the Phantom
Aye,
Menace.
Phantom Menace Defender.
What was it we changed the name it to?
Was it no, but we're talking about Space Jesus versus Magic Hitler.
More Space Jesus than Gungan Devil.
That was it.
Fair enough.
You know, I love Kevin Smith movies. I'd be very curious, because I know we've talked at length about Kevin Smith movies. because of when he was coming out, so like his first movie came out, I think I was like 9, so I wouldn't have seen it at the time. So the very first movie that I saw was Dogma, and that hit me at a very good time, just because I was raised Catholic and I had all these kind of like questions about Catholic faith, and nobody ever wants to talk about these things and no one will ever mention it, and anytime you ask questions you get told just to shut up, and you go to mass and you just believe it all. And then that movie came out, and thanks to my brother I got to see that movie, and it was great. It was all of the problems that I had with it in this movie, with such huge stars. Just the fact that you managed to get Alan Rickman to be in that one is just incredible. And it was just such a good movie, and that was the movie that made me go back in his catalogue and start watching stuff. So I wouldn't have seen Clerks if I hadn't seen Dogma. So I was curious, first movie you would have seen of his?
It would have been Clerks, but not when it came out. Like, I just remember when I started getting into movies and stuff, and I was just trying to learn about the stuff that I should see.
Becoming a cinephile.
Certainly trying to. But I was going down a wee route, and I do remember it quite clearly, because I was going through kind of like indie cinema and sleeper hits and stuff like that, and so it started with Reservoir Dogs, because obviously the story behind that, how little money it was, and I get the same idea. The only reason the film got made and the only reason that we have Tarantino is because Harvey Keitel got a hold of the script, did it for about 48 quid, and then was delighted, and it obviously became an amazing film. And then I was what other, because I loved it, some other kind of sleeper hit films like that, and Clerks came out of nowhere, and it just cracked me up. Like, I just found it so funny. But I was probably maybe about 14 or 15 at the time. Nice. So, and then like you, I watched Clerks, I went and watched Dogma, Chasing Amy, all that sort of stuff. What was the other one? Mallrats. All of those kind of very, very quick, one after the other, and it was absolutely brilliant. Really funny.
Dogma was the first film that he wrote, but he kind of showed folk the script and all that. You'd be kind of one and done for that, but he took Clerks to, I don't know if it was Sundance or a film festival, and it was the last film that was closing it. And he was buzzing. He's like, "Oh, it's the last film. If he's going to be there," and nobody was there. It was him and his pals and one guy, and that one guy worked at Miramax.
Which funny enough was the same studio that made Tarantino. Right, there you go. But it's like Dogma. The interesting thing about that is, if that's the first film you're writing, and Kevin Smith is, he was like a pure stoner kid, that's what he was and stuff
Still
like that.
Still an adult.
Think of the existential questions that were going through his head when he thought, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write a comedy film. Do you know what I'm going to make it about? Do you know what I mean? What was going through that character's head at that time? Do you know what I mean?
I'm going to blow your minds here. Do you know that Kevin Smith smoked dope for the first time on the set of Zack Mary?
Oh well, there you go.
He'd never done it before?
He made stoner films like the full time, and it was Seth Rogen that taught him how to.
And now he's a wake and bake, self-confessed wake and bake.
I never would have thought that. I just assumed he'd been doing it his entire life.
Probably abusing drugs for years. Fuck that.
If you were going to learn how to smoke dope, the only person better than Seth Rogen would be bloody Snoop Dogg.
Wilson, man.
What about yourself, John? First movie?
First one I seen would have been Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Nice.
I remember seeing that with my cousins. It was actually my dad who had the DVD, and we all sat and watched it, and then I was like, fucking yes man, this is amazing, these guys are fucking outstanding. And then we went back and kind of watched, I think the biggest one will be Dogma, probably the go-to for a lot of people, but I really like Red State, which was a fucking great film. It's a tremendous
film. I've not watched it yet.
Red State is really cool and really interesting and really well done.
You said to me earlier on it was really
I don't think that's what I was going up to. I have a lot of respect for it, but I can't say that I enjoyed it all that much as I was watching it. And I was really gutted, because anytime Kevin Smith was making anything, I was like, I'm going to watch that because that's my guy, I'm going to love that movie. And I watched Red State and I was just like,
so I don't know if it's
missed me here.
The horror and true crime fan in me that really enjoys it, because it was, they were baiting people to cheat on their partners and stuff, and then they were fucking capturing them and torturing them and killing them. It was John Goodman. Fucking great film.
I think my issue might have been that it felt really dark for a Kevin Smith project, and I think that's why I also suffered through Tusk. Like
That's a great film, man. So Tusk came about off the back of a Smodcast episode.
I think you've told me this before.
I'll let you crack on, mate.
So
You're the guest.
there was an advert that somebody had put. I think it was the UK actually. It was in Gumtree, where somebody had says you can come and stay in my house for nothing. I'll feed you water, don't even pay in gas, electricity. The only thing you need to do is every night, was it? Is to dress up as a walrus and let me feed you fish. And it was done as a joke, but they found it, and him and Scott Moser found it and spoke about it on a podcast, and then it was like, it says, go on Twitter if you want us to make it #walrus yes or #walrus no. They get more yeses than no's, so Tusk.
So it's amazing that what these polls can do, isn't it? They can kill Jason Todd and they can get a film with Tusk. The thing I found about Tusk is that I just thought it was too intentionally mental. You know, films just go that wee bit too far, they jump the shark curve, they nuke the fridge, as they say. And I just was like, right, I watched it and it was the sort of thing that I was like, I'd never ever want to watch that again. I'm not glad I watched it. It was just like, why?
You'll be buzzing when he makes moose jaws then.
I honestly think the best thing that came out of Tusk is the story that Kevin Smith told about how he got Johnny Depp in it. I've seen him tell it in interviews and things like that, and how like just the fact that it came through.
Some makeup.
No, it was just came through the. You might know the story better than me, but it came through his daughter and Johnny Depp's daughter being friends, and he just happened to mention it once when they saw each other, sent him the script, and then Johnny Depp come and tell the story. The main thing that I love about Kevin Smith, I actually like him just talking about movies almost as much as I enjoy his movies.
I think he would say the same. He can talk like flip.
Look at you.
No but yeah, like any interview that he's ever done, he's always so good, and I always thought it was really funny that he made his character in all of his movies the one that doesn't speak, when he's one of the most entertaining to listen to. I think you might have planned for this later on, but just when he tells that story of his Superman Returns script, that is like it's some kind of, I don't know, some fan event or something, and it's him standing talking to all these young kids that love movies, and the way he just keeps everybody for, he must tell that story for about 30 minutes, and no one makes a sound apart from laughing because of how good he is at telling that story, and it's just so funny. And one of the things, we've talked about this previously on the podcast, the idea that he's going to go out and do like, I don't know, like a press run for him having like the rights to Dogma again and re-releasing it in cinemas, I'm more excited about the opportunity just to see him talk about his films again, because he's just so good to listen to.
Yes. I mean, I'm not much a Kevin Smith fan that I've got an audience with Kevin Smith, which is a 4-hour film kind of thing about him doing talks in I guess like university campuses and stuff like that. And that's the one who's talked about Superman Returns, and the guy's wanting to. He was obsessed with having a big mechanical spider in it.
Yes, it was going to be mechanical, it was going to be a real spider.
A real spider, Wild West.
The Warner Brothers exec, and then he went on to do fucking Wild West. He did fucking fight a big massive mechanical spider.
Him telling the story of him having to go to that guy's house, and the way the guys that laid out on his couch listening to him tell the story is so funny, man. And I believe every second of it. I don't think he's embellished it even slightly.
No, that is just verbatim.
And
it's just
then
so
there was
good.
the one where he was going to be making a Prince documentary. Have you seen that?
Yes,
that's
so good.
Where he basically gets a phone call saying Prince is going to phone you in 20 minutes, and then Prince is going to phone you in 15 minutes. It's just like he personally picked Kevin Smith. He wanted to and then it just.
But the funniest bit about that is at the end, because the whole reason he was wanting to try and talk to Prince was to use one of his songs in a film. And then he's agreed to do this whole documentary. He's like, I'll fly out to you, I'll do whatever. And then at the end of it, he remembers, I meant to ask you this. Any chance, Prince, I could use this song? No.
That was, I'm sure it was Shannon Elizabeth's introduction in Jane Silent Bob Strike Back, the most beautiful girl.
It was. That is some serious trivia, by the way, mate.
Well pulled. So, out of all the Kevin Smith films, then, what would you say is your favourite?
I knew this was coming, and
I know.
that just went through my head. Right, so I watched Chasing Amy last night, and I think Chasing Amy is perfect.
That's a phenomenal
It's a
film.
great
It's
film.
as perfect as Kevin Smith can get it. No offence, Kevin Smith, but I
Sorry, he doesn't watch them.
but I think that film just, I think it's just absolutely perfect.
That's his best.
That's good.
No,
No.
I don't know.
No.
Just your favourite, but it's
It's your
not
favourite.
I
necessarily.
don't even know.
Just got to watch it last night.
Boys,
It's my favourite of the day.
Right.
the
It's
thing
probably a good
about
way to
his,
look at it.
the thing about his movies is they're so enjoyable that in your head they just all become 5 stars. So
Aye.
depending on your mood, you'll love a different one a different day.
Mm.
Because like the majority of the time, if you ask me what's my favourite Kevin Smith movie, most of the time it's going to be Dogma.
Yeah.
But there will be times where it will be Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, because I remember one of the ways that I learned that you loved that movie wasn't even necessarily us talking about Kevin Smith movies. I randomly like broke out like quietly doing the
Like in
tune
Hives.
from when they were like singing.
Randomly broke
It's the
out
bit where they're
Hives.
standing outside. Obviously, they do the introduction in James Silent Bob of when they're kids, and then it's them going out and it's motherfuck night.
Moise.
I think, and
That whole section, sorry, completely forgot all the words to it. But it was that section. I randomly was doing that quietly, and then Jordan joined in as we were doing it, and then it was like, "Do you want to Silent Bob Strike Back?"
Who's looking after these babies? That's Kevin Smith's cousin that says that, and
You
the
know all the trivia.
Jay's mum in that film. Fuck you, you fucking square. She's. Did you watch Handmaid's Tale?
yeah.
She's one of the-
She's Saucy's one.
She's one of the higher up women with the blonde hair that takes the.
Oh, Sliz.
Mm.
Oh, what's her name?
Aye.
Oh, that's going to annoy me for the rest of this podcast.
That's
You've
a
got you
fucking
guys
mental
just
thing,
talking
you know.
amongst yourselves, right?
Aye.
Checking out.
Handmaid's Tale's brilliant, by the way. That is really, really good.
But aye, there's. But then again, now you've mentioned that probably.
Handmaid's Tale.
Imagine that if Kevin Smith had made it.
And even though it's sticking on comic book men, like
Comic book men's
I
a
love
great show,
comic
man.
book men. It's
Mhm.
because obviously they three were Brian Johnson. That said he was the inspiration behind Randall.
The Almighty Johnson.
And originally in the film, like you're saying that he doesn't speak in
Yeah.
any of his films. He was originally going to be Randall, and
Oh.
realised
Yeah.
that he couldn't direct.
And
So many lines and stuff.
Because Walt Flanagan's in Clerks, isn't he?
Mhm.
Walt Flanagan makes an
Three
appearance.
times.
Aye.
He's the egg guy.
Mhm.
That's right.
He's when they're sitting talking about waiting down the wanking service. He's the offended customer at that point as well. I can't remember the last one he's in, but he fell out with Brian Johnson. That's why Brian Johnson isn't in Clerks. But he's in every other one, but he fell out with him for some reason before that.
No, that's a shame.
But he's based, Randall's based on him. He was going to play it. He realised he couldn't do the two things at the one time, so he became Silent Bob. And the guy who was going to be Silent Bob is the guy that says it in a row. So he gave him like the best line in the film.
One of my favourite things from Clerks I always think is dead funny is when Dante follows his girlfriend out after he's pulled her up because she mentioned, oh, you've sucked 23 dicks, and they go outside and she goes to walk away and he's like, try not to suck any dicks in the, like when you walk through the parking lot, and there's a guy who's standing there and he turns and starts walking. Dante goes like, hey.
So when you shout my girlfriend,
It's just
so
so
funny. Like, what, today?
The thing about, because like, obviously you're saying it's quite hard for you, and you, being such a big Kevin Smith fan, it's hard for you to pick like an out favourite, right? I was thinking about it earlier on, and I did the kind of the 3 Kevin Smith films that if I had to give up the rest I could survive, but Clerks is absolutely the top of my list. And we were talking at the start about how like you can joke about anything, and I mean, we've more or less there's only ever one joke we've cut out of this,
Yeah.
and that was right at the start. And I think now
Well,
we've
just
left it
'cause
aside.
I would have left it in.
Do you know what I
We won't
mean?
tell it again, but we'll
No,
just-
definitely not.
Let Sleeping Dogs lie.
Aye, but like the whole piece is that genuinely, I think the reason I love Clerks so much is because that the whole ending of that, where the twist that it takes, that is a film that became a humongous kind of sleeper hit off the back of that for me, which I found one of the funniest things. I would genuinely say that kind of impacted how happy I am to joke about anything. Do you know what I mean? And I think like just the fact that she's been in there and they just took that risk. Like he's like, fuck it, it's my first film. I might never get another chance, so I'm going to make the main character's girlfriend have sex with a dead man in the toilet. Like, I just think that's brilliant. It's so brave. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's very like you can see that even back then that Kevin Smith is very much still the same person. He's not bowed to the whole Hollywood thing that we were talking about.
And in Chasing Amy, like Alyssa says that her best pal was in a mental institution because she had sex with a dead guy.
I haven't.
Just quickly on Clerks. The original, I think he had an original ending film. You obviously know this, but
originally mechanical spider comes out.
Originally Dante, like obviously he keeps making the joke, I'm not even supposed to be here today. Was going to end with him getting shot and killed during a robbery. I think I understand they might have wanted to have that kind of like shock ending and things like that, but obviously would have made it. There's no Clerks 2 or Clerks 3 after that, so very very glad that didn't happen. I
also think that's the sort of thing. Like I used a really good phrase earlier on, the whole kind of the one and done thing, right? I think if that's the ending he puts in that film, it's very very unlikely that if the guy at Miramax had seen it, they'll probably try and change the ending. And then I think Kevin Smith's very much, well no, you're not changing a part of my film and stuff like that, so you might never have got anything from Kevin Smith, do you know what I mean? So I think it was probably quite a good decision, but Clerks for me, like it's probably not technically his best film, close enough, but he filmed it in a handheld camera. It's probably...
Had a mic attached to a hockey stick as well.
The only reason it was black and white, it was cheaper as well.
And it was when the Wayne's putting the chewing gum in the locks. That was kind of how they would keep the thing that we're filming at night and all that. But the way they ended it was you're closed, but that's the last. And the way that Randall walks out the door, so when he does that, when I quit my first job, that's the way I walked out the door. Was the way Randall done it at the end of Clerks. So it's always been a big part of my life.
Absolutely have.
But here, get up the day.
I know, I'm actually so jealous of that t-shirt.
Because it's on.
Because it's on. That was going to be my joke, just that it's touching bare skin.
It's calling you a bear.
Any final thoughts on Kevin Smith? Anything else that you had that you wanted to touch on?
Nothing that I can say in 2 minutes.
Bare skin.
Nothing I can say in 2 minutes.
Yeah, I've got a jeans that I've
that's fantastic. Man, that's really good.
I didn't know you had that.
That's dynamite.
I think that's a perfect way to end this little segment.
Aye, 100%.
One film that didn't get a lot of love at the time and is still not well remembered, and I can't figure out why, is Mallrats. That was one of my favourite ones when I discovered Kevin Smith and went back and started watching all of his movies. I loved Mallrats. I thought it was absolutely amazing, and when you go back and look, it wasn't really well received, not by critics, not by his main fans either, and it did not do well financially either, which is a bit of a surprise. But I thought it was great. I kind of understand the characters that Shannon Doherty and the guy, I forget his name,
Jeremy or Jason London.
Yeah, their romance through it I wasn't particularly fussed about, and unfortunately it kind of anchors the entire movie. But the introduction of Jason Lee's character, Banky, who is one of my favourite characters in all of the movies that have come afterwards, was fantastic. I was hearing a guy talk about stuff that I would speak to my friends about, but it was in an actual movie, and you thought, this is the stuff that they'll never ever mention. He came away with one of my favourite lines when he's randomly talking about Superman and how him and Lois Lane could never have sex because when he ejaculates, it would be like a shotgun out of the small of her back. Just as soon as I remember hearing that for the first time, and I just buckled. It was so funny and so shocking. It's so good.
So visceral as well.
I know, it's just this, what an image, but it was such a good movie, and all the Jay and Silent Bob stuff in that I think is really fun. Very slapstick compared to some of the other stuff they do, but it's really really funny. They had like the Batman and Robin thing going. I thought it worked really really well.
I was Man and Chronic at that point.
I was surprised that it wasn't that well received.
I think it was just Clerks had that charm because it was made on the shoestring and stuff like that, and then you see somebody with success and you're like, nah, I don't like this anymore. I prefer when you're a bit like, I think that, I don't know if it was, I'm thinking it was Jeremy London, because the two of them, there's two twins, he was just rotten in it.
Yeah, he just wasn't very good.
Aye. Like,
Phoned that in.
aye.
That entire sequence where it's like the blind date set up thing is kind of touched on. The only thing that's entertaining there is Banky doing his section of it, but obviously he's only like one of three guys that are talking, and I do like Shannon Doherty, but you got a bit of trivia.
Is it no Brody?
Is Brody not his other character? Is that another one from Chasing Amy?
Banky's in Chasing Amy.
Oh, I've got it back. Oh, sorry.
I thought Banky was that mad artist guy for Bristol.
Is it Banky? Is Banky and Brody? Those are the two characters,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so Brody is that one.
Yeah.
And Brody's the one that ends up with the comic book store.
Yeah.
I've got that right. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. So I've got it flipped. It's Brody. Sorry.
Because he's when in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, he's in his comic book, which is where they film Comic Book Man. It's the same show.
Yeah.
And behind him's like the big newspaper article.
Is that because sorry, because at the end of Jane Silent Bob,
They're all right.
when Kevin Smith does his whole thing, it's at Banky. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. I'll stop talking now.
I was going to say that question, man. Did you use ChatGPT for that? Because that was very well structured.
But it does use the same characters, like the same actors and stuff. So
That's a shame. Isn't it?
Hard to remember.
I think that the interesting thing is, like, so you think about Clerks, it's what deems a movie a success in Hollywood, right? And it's always down to the finance the side of things, right? He made Clerks for, was it 24 grand, something like that?
yeah, 75.
75 grand, right? Like, to make a Hollywood film is the same as buying a house for a fiver, right? Like, it's nuts, right? And so then obviously the amount that needs to return to be considered a massive success is far, far less, right? That then gets him a bigger budget set of movies, gets him backing from studios. That then gets marketed more heavily, which means more people see it. And the problem is that it's more mainstream critics see this stuff, right? And see if Kevin Smith had a couple of decent films at the start and then made some big studio fare, right, which we know he would have been brilliant at, right? And then started making films like Chasing Amy, and like they'd be considered absolute darlings because we've now had this explosion of geek culture. Because he is a geek making movies for geeks, but that in the 90s, that wasn't a thing. Like, it's over the last 15, 20 years, things like Big Bang Theory had a massive impact on it.
He was also in that as well.
Well, exactly. But it's the whole perception of geek culture has changed in what we're interested in. Comic book movies. Talking about comic books in the 90s was...
Does it get you leathered?
Exactly. Whereas now they've absolutely changed cinema. So I think it's like, I don't think necessarily the films that he was making, I think I don't think they had a fair shake based on the audience that it was aimed for, because the people that he was aiming the films at love them, and then I don't think they were getting a fair shake on the fact that he was getting judged against other films. Like, Chasing Amy was considered a romantic comedy. The mid-90s is going up against Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan films and everything that are doing 100 times the budget and stuff, do you know what I mean? So I think that had a large part to play. Brilliant films.
I wonder if there would have been that kind of narrative from like film critics of just like, no, he's not making the right type of movie, and then just, I don't know, just I feel like maybe film reviews would have affected like box office ratings in a way that they don't now.
100%.
Because the successes you have on movies that are deemed terrible by the modern film critic, I almost feel like these people that like review movies, it's almost irrelevant what they think now.
It's their opinion.
Yeah, it's the same as it is mainstream media. Like, we're talking about him making these films for people that didn't have a voice because there was the advent of social media hadn't happened, right? So the only thing that you would read about movies was in the newspaper reviews and in, like, if you read things like Empire or whatever else, right? But the fact is that they were looking for things to find fault in, and you sort of, then the big famous one was his name in America, the guy that died, famous movie critic.
Robert
Is that his name? Eagers, whatever. You know what I mean? That's really annoying. But like he did things like Star Wars, and he reviewed Star Wars, the original in 1977, as a 1 out of 5 film. Why has this been made? And it became the biggest franchise in history. Critics don't really know what they're talking about. They're called critics. That's what they're there to do, is to criticise. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think the films that Kevin Smith was making in the 90s, if you're making them now, they'd be absolutely humongous hits. You know what I mean?
Chasing Amy gets shortlisted for an Oscar, best screenplay.
That's right,
and I think it was nominated for a Golden Globe as well. But we're talking about Chasing Amy, like the rom-com thing. Like there is a film that gets overlooked, and it broke my heart when I watched it. And I think it's phenomenal. Jersey Girl. Like watching that as a dad as well, like losing his wife right at the start, and then try to do the best for his daughter, and getting sacked 3 weeks after losing his wife as well. That's a bit weird. It's a bit harsh, I think.
Absolutely.
But I think Jersey Girl was like overlooked. Does that get panned as well?
I wonder if that was such a huge shift in the type of movie that he makes that it hurt, because a huge part of his audience would have been Kevin Smith fans, and then he's made this very, very different movie that's actually quite good and well made, and more in that kind of Chasing Amy mould. But it was the wrong people watching it.
Yeah.
It also fell massively foul of the absolute campaign of hatred towards Ben Affleck in the 90s and early thousands. So obviously he's come through, he's done well, he's come through with Matt Damon. He started to do it, and then he's made a couple, but he's done Armageddon, Pearl Harbor, looking like he's going to be the biggest kind of blockbuster movie star. And there was like an open campaign of hatred against him, right? Now,
him and Jennifer Lopez as well, was it not? Was it the combination of the two?
He done Gigli and stuff like that, but I think when he did Jersey Girl, because it was Liv Tyler, but he was still with Jennifer Garner at that point, but he'd become a celebrity rather than a famous actor, and by being a celebrity, it's easier for the mainstream media to take kind of pot shots at you and stuff. So we've spoken with Ben Affleck before. I think he's overrated as an actor, but I think he's perfectly fine. I like him. But I think when you put him in that, and it was right in the middle of the Ben Affleck's a dick campaign, I think that had a massive impact on it. So, and then what tends to happen is if a film gets bad press, it snowballs, and if a film gets good press, it snowballs. Do you know what I mean? So I just think it was a victim of that. But it was a really good film, really underrated.
At a time when social media couldn't have saved it.
True.
And I feel like that happens now sometimes, where a movie will get like terrible reviews. However, people will go online, just normal people, and just say this movie's actually really good, and then people give it more of a chance. And it is actually, I think, they kind of get away from Kevin Smith here, but I don't think Abigail, the horror movie, was reviewed particularly well. I thought that was a great movie. I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah.
And folk like Nickelback now. I think that's game for social media.
I like Nickelback, thought it was cool.
A programme that we all love and talk about all the time, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I don't know if you're a fan of, right? Brooklyn Nine-Nine got cancelled, and within 24 hours has been picked up by another studio purely because of the social media campaign.
Picked it back up.
Do you know what I mean? And this happens all the time. Family Guy got cancelled after season 1 and season 3 and get brought back purely off the back of DVD sales. But with stuff like, if it's a one-off film, DVD sales are never it's not going to be able to, let's re-release Jersey Girl. It doesn't work like that. Do you know what I mean?
Or one of my favourite ones, Firefly. They never realised anybody was watching that because people were watching reruns of it rather than watching it at the actual time, because it had an absolutely terrible slot. And then it cancelled it. It sold everything, but it was too late to bring it back. Heartbreaking. But at least they got the movie.
Cancelled twice. I've never finished it. I've watched about 4 seasons of it, and I need to get back to it. I've done the same with Always Sunny in Philadelphia as well. I need to get back to them. But Arrested Development is really funny.
I think I watched season 1 twice. Like an attempt to try and get back to it. It is.
It's the issue.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely.
Right, but I think that'll probably wrap us up there then. Unless you get anything else.
You don't want to talk about yoga hosels?
Nah.
One of the funniest film names ever. That's just a fun thing to say. Yoga hosels, I just like that bit of absolute car crash of a film. But everybody's allowed one, isn't they?
Yeah, I suppose. I have enjoyed.
Wait till the first film comes out.
I've enjoyed when he steps into like randomly direct guest episodes of TV shows. Like, I don't watch the Flash TV show, but you know, he directed a couple episodes, so I watched those.
On it as well.
Yeah, and then he guest directed an episode of Supergirl. I watched that. That was quite good as well.
Aye, that's how you get. What's her name? She's in.
Melissa Benoist.
She's in a few of his films. She's in Clerks 3, and she's in the Jane Silent Bob reboot.
Yeah, she was in that as well. I actually really should have spent more time talking about that, because that was really, really good. And not only for like the majority of the jokes land, I don't particularly enjoy the Ku Klux Klan section with Chris Jericho. I didn't think that was all that good. But the
My
majority,
favourite bit in the film.
the majority of that's really
Voice.
good. But the emotional hook of it all, and like Jason Mewes, like being the estranged dad, I couldn't believe his range.
He was really
and that's
good
it. He
in
was
it.
really, really good. He was very convincing. I loved that movie.
I
thought it was
suppose
brilliant.
one final question for the Kevin Smith superfan. Like, I've not actually looked into what he's got. Has he got anything major coming up in terms of like actual kind of content as opposed to just pods and whatever else?
He's been teasing Mallrats 2 for about how many years?
About 3 years.
Aye, so I mean,
Dangling that.
aye.
Possible.
I think the 430 movie was the most recent one.
Mhm.
I just got added to Sky Cinema, and that's very good.
I'm in watch that. I've seen that one, yeah.
I bought it and then 2 days later got added to. So
This is one where his daughter's boyfriend's playing him
aye,
as his younger self.
aye.
Aye.
And he was the one. Oh, he was in Clerks 3, but he plays a kind of Silent Bob character in Clerks 3, and then obviously find his voice in the 430 movie. And he's brilliant in it. Like, I didn't think. I thought he was a real actor until I went back to watch Clerks 3. I'm like, it's the same guy.
Right, okay.
So he's really good.
That's a few things on my list now to try and watch.
Mhm. The big thing we spoke about a few kind of episodes ago. I really hope, because there was obviously talk now about a Dogma 2 sequel as well.
Yeah.
Dogma 2 sequel? Is that
That's
Dogma
Dogma
3?
3, aye. Dogma 3 this time is religious. No, it's about making Dogma 2, but also we know that he's got the rights back, he's doing the re-release, and there's the rumours of a kind of world tour.
DVD's coming
And
back
so we
out.
said straight away, and I'll extend an invite, I'd love it if you fancy coming, but if and when he does it, I think there'd be a very, very high possibility that he'll visit Scotland and maybe do like a GFT night. And if he did that, we're going to make a big night out and stuff like that. But I think now there'll be the re-release of Dogma, and simultaneously, I think at the end of that, he'll do the trailer for Dogma 2. That's kind of my prediction, and I think that'll be quite exciting.
I'd love to see it.
Because he had said he had an idea for Dogma 2, but like obviously he talks and he talks and he talks. So he's just
Aye.
kind of said he had an idea in the motor when he was driving. He's like, oh, could do this, could do that. And then tweeted or spoke, was like, oh, I've got a wee idea for Dogma 2, and just went mental. So he's like, it's no guarantee that it's
No, I'd seen some stuff about some studio like rumblings about a script had been handed in, and there had been some green light discussions and stuff. So I think if he did that, if he does a Mallrats 2, if he does a Dogma 2, it'll be massive news. And again, because the geek culture thing is there, there's so many people out there that would be desperate for him to make these films that they are guaranteed
Massive cult
successes.
followings.
Guaranteed successes.
Well, before we finish up, Al, have you got any, you want to plug any shows coming up, or where can the people find you in general?
Motherwell.
This is me trying to think about my Instagram handle. Al_Thompson1, I'm sure, on Instagram.
You would think there was more than 2 Al Thompsons.
There's a voice actor as well, because every time I search myself.
See if you're trending on IMDb or something.
Oh fuck.
People find you on TikTok?
Aye, Albatross 1989 I think it is. And I've got a show coming up in the Glasgow International Comedy Festival on the 14th of March at 8 PM.
8 PM.
The poster says 6 PM, but that's because
It's telling lies.
I'm an idiot.
Just making sure people get there for a good seat, mate. That's all we're doing.
So that's at the Griffin on March the 14th. I'm sure there'll be a poster popping up behind me because you're right good with the video editing and that.
Shout out to the
Podmother.
Really good.
Are you doing any fringe this year?
Is that a ball joke? No,
Evidently not.
No, but yours is clearly shaved.
No, it's tattooed.
Not yet, but the guy that I'm working with that's putting the show on the Glasgow International Comedy Festival does run fringe shows. So
Brilliant stuff.
we'll see what happens.
So we said earlier on, didn't we, and I already said to Al that we were going to do it, but thankfully it turned out to be 8 o'clock, not 6 o'clock.
It's even better.
So we can actually make it now.
Rather been there for 4.
We're going to make it a mates, movies and malts night out and come
40th of
cheer
March,
you
look
on.
forward to it, man.
I'll
That'd be
go,
good.
Happy to sit at the front if you want to take easy pot shots at us in the
no,
I
I can't do things like that.
do that bit,
No.
You ever did any good heckles?
What's he do, Gail? See all that shit? That guy does, I hate him.
Is that his Paul Smith, isn't it?
Aye.
Not the only one.
Heckle?
I despise that.
You never had any, no?
See that crowd work stuff? I
Aye.
fucking hate it. It's all
I think
the same.
there's only certain comedians that make it mildly amusing, but it's just
Find a
filler.
place for it.
It's just filler,
The
innit?
reason that they do it is so folk know them, they see them, they can see them being funny, having banter back and forth, but they don't
Give away any of
give
their
away their
jokes.
material.
Aye.
But I've just decided to put my material up on TikTok and all that because
That new
they
jokes
just
are
got
fucking
anyway, so-
amazing. I also heard a rumour that you can do a couple of good impressions. You up for it?
I'll do one.
Right,
Because
okay.
the other one, I think everybody thinks they can do the X Factor guy.
Well, we'll all give it a bash.
You just can do it.
You want to rate them?
You go for it, mate. if you want.
But you need to do the standard setup.
Aye, you
Because
set the bar.
I've watched yours earlier on and it's
Yeah.
exactly
you set the
like
bar
it.
and then we'll try it.
I don't think there's a person in Scotland that forgot the name Rachel had a DJ, by the way.
Wasn't it? I used to phone taxis and stuff and they'd be like, what's the name for the taxi? And I'd shout Rachel out.
Remember for a long time you had like a random name in the taxi companies because they wouldn't turn up for
No,
you?
it's him, it's
No,
Purvis.
it was me. It was Purvis. I
I'll never
was
forget
sick.
that.
I was sick of them getting Campania wrong. So
So Purvis was the next bit.
Purvis was
No
the next
Smith,
one.
no
No,
Jones.
it's just
Straight
speaking
to
Campania,
Purvis.
Right, so. Hey, so assuming I'm doing the X Factor guy first,
Aye.
exactly.
then you finish with the best one.
Rachel! At a DJ!
That's fucking good.
That's
so
too
good.
good. I don't want to try this now because that's perfect.
Oh, you need to go first now.
No.
Aye.
Rachel! At a DJ!
Oh, no. No, I'm not doing it. I'll win.
What's the bet that she's watching us? She was never expecting to get so many mentions.
She's on Hollyoaks.
Is she?
Is she?
Wasn't so, aye.
Don't watch it.
No,
I never would.
that's Kevin Smith.
Interesting. And then what was your other impression?
Doug getting his tail stepped on.
Oh, this is the one that I saw. That was got me.
Hey, this is quite.
So I remember before we started, Pete asking, "How did you figure out how you do that?"
did you
I
figure out
can't
you could do
possibly fathom how you would ever have stumbled on that.
Because I'm an annoying prick. Really, I just think.
Just doing things?
Because I used to do it in the house all the time, and but even when I was growing up.
She wonder you mean, could be sleep.
It was even with, when I was growing up and stuff like that. I always done it, and then I done it to my wife, and then she kept running out saying, "Have you stepped in that dog's tail?"
Tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be.
It's absolutely brilliant. It also it brings to mind the question, what did the first guy that milked a cow think he was doing?
And on that bombshell,
Yeah.
well, thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Aye, cheers.
Cheers,
I
I
enjoyed this, mate. That was
appreciate it, man.
brilliant.
That was good.
Really enjoyed that.
First guest of the year. Hopefully, we'll get you back on again, mate. As long as you'll be willing to come back on with us.
Anytime something new happens with Kevin Smith, we'll get you back.
Kevin
My
Smith.
next heart attack will
Good.
be here, eh? I'll have one first, right now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for
Cheers,
watching this
cheers,
Thanks very
episode.
much.
Cheers, later.